Hello everyone, welcome to SlideScope's Scholastic channel where we are learning interactive dashboard development in Python itself. So here is a very simple dashboard that we have created on the sample superstore dataset. In the sample superstore dataset, I will explain it. So in the dataset there are product orders, and product orders are of different categories. For example, if you will select furniture category, so in the furniture category there are many subcategories. Subcategories like chair, bookcases, furnishing tables. And you will see whenever we are changing a category or a subcategory, the data is changing here. Similarly, if you will change the region to south, west, central or east, okay, you will see change in value of sales, and you will see in pie chart all the categories, all the subcategories you will see, and their percentage of share in the total sales. So this is a simple introduction of the dashboard. Now we will learn how to build it in Python Pandas. So first of all, you have to understand and learn what libraries will be used or installed for this. So we are simply running it on Google Colab, and on Google Colab, by writing exclamation sign, you can install the libraries. Okay, so by using pip install, you will install three libraries: dash, pandas and plotly. So pandas is something that is already present and pre-installed in Colab, so you don't have to write that. But just for demonstration purpose, we will first install dash, pandas and plotly, and it will start collecting the data. If the requirement is already satisfied, it will simply give you that message. Okay, then second is you will import pandas as PD, because with the help of pandas library we will read our data set. So we are doing it for data processing. Okay, in simple terms, reading our sample superstore file where we have the category and subcategory wise sales data of different products. So here we have sample superstore file. This file comes from Tableau. So from Tableau website we downloaded this. Here you can see every row ID is unique, and every row represents some order. Okay, and in every row you will find a product ID being ordered, and for that product, what is the total amount of sales, what is the total quantity and discount it is given there, and the total profit is also given there. We also have product name, we have subcategory and category. These are the two columns, two categorical columns that we are going to use in our dashboard as a drop down. So in category you will see we have furniture, office supplies and technology, and in subcategory we have accessories, appliances, art, binders, etc. So as you can see in the Excel file that we have uh, here, orders is the name of sheet. So in your Python pandas, you will just go to folder view, and here you will upload your file. So using this simple icon, you can upload to session storage. From there we will select the file. Once you have the file uploaded in your session, so you can copy the path. Every time you will re-enable the session, you have to do this. So you will copy the path, and here in pd.read underscore excel you will simply read the Excel file, and sheet name is orders. So now you can see df.columns. df is our data frame, the 2D structure. So in our data frame this entire table will be loaded, and you will see these columns are loaded: row ID, order ID, order date, that you just saw. So if you will write df.head, it will give you the top 5 rows. So you can see top 5 rows, and we can see that data is coming properly. Now we will import the first important library, Obviously pandas is there, but here we are using import plotly.express as px. Okay, so here is the official website of Plotly, and as the name suggests, it is used for plotting graphs. So for example, Plotly Express is a high-level interface for data visualization, and the interface is given here. And the different type of graphs that you can create are given here, like scatter 3D, scatter polar, line polar, and everything is given here. Okay, so we will use this to create some graphs, and the graphs that you were seeing in our dashboard. Okay, these graphs are created with the help of this library. Now this is the code, the final code that we are reading. So obviously you will import plotly.express spx, pandas spd, and you are going to import the dash library also. So as you can see here, Dash is a web app framework that provides pure Python abstraction around HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Instead of writing HTML or using an HTML templating engine, you compose your layout using Python with the Dash HTML components module, which is called Dash HTML. Okay, and here is the entire Dash Python guideline. And if you are interested in learning Dash from scratch, then on our channel itself you will find a complete user guide for learning Dash. You must have some basic knowledge of HTML coding, even though we will try to explain you from scratch. So in simple terms, with the help of Dash and Python and Plotly, what you can do, you can create such kind of layouts which are possible in, so these kind of layouts are possible using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So obviously HTML, CSS, and JavaScript can only generate a static code, but here you will, when you will use it with Python pandas, so you can read data using Python pandas, you can plot graphs, you can plotly express SPX, and using dash DCC HTML input and output, you will be able to create such kind of charts in your Colab notebook or by running your Python code anywhere. So here on our website, we have given the complete tutorial and code. So I will give link in description so that you can copy the code and run for you. Now the important thing to understand for you is DCC. DCC is stand for Dash Core Component, which is a module provided by the Dash library. It contains a collection of interactive components like graph, drop down, slider, and more. So in the data set, you can see we have graphs, drop down, sliders, and more things which are commonly used in Dash application to build interactive dashboards. So name Dash can be said that obviously used for building dashboards. Key features of DCC are it provides user interface element UI element that are dynamic or reactive. These elements trigger callback to update data visualizations or other components, and it works seamlessly with Dash's Python-based callbacks for interactivity. Some of the common DCC components that you will bring or build are dcc.graph that displays interactive plotly graphs. Example, line chart, bar chart, scatter plot, etc. Used to embed visualizations in the Dash app. So for example, if you will write dcc.graph, here you will give some ID to your graph, okay, and figure is equal to my figure, which we are just going to see. Similarly, if you have to create a drop down, so here you will write dcc.dropdown. Drop down is basically this simple drop down list here. Okay, in order to bring the drop down list, you have to write dcc.dropdown here also. So in Dash, every element that you are creating, every interactive element, that is either an input element or a output element, okay, that you are creating, you will assign some kind of ID to it. And for example, since it's a drop down, it will have options. Since it's a graph, it will have figure value. So here options are, you can write a simple dictionary like label 1 option 1, value option 1, okay, label 1 option 2, value option 2. So in the drop down, what label are you going to use? Your first option and value, okay, and label option 2 and its value, and by default the value of option 1 will select all this. Similarly, you can display a slider also. You can take user input, so allows for text or number input. So suppose we want to take input from user, so obviously we are going to show all of this later, but here you will just understand how to create this simplest of the chart, okay. And here, so after importing our libraries and reading our data order sheet, we will create our dash app, okay. So we'll write app is equal to dash dot dash. So using the dash library, we are creating an app which is object of dash, okay. Now once we have created the dash app, we will write app dot layout is equal to html.Div. So here your entire layout is starting, okay. So you can see it is ending here. So your layout starts here and ends here. It is just like you are creating a div inside a HTML tag. So if you are doing a HTML programming, you write HTML. Inside HTML you write head, where you give page title, etc. In head you write a body tag, okay. And this body tag is the tag that gets displayed to the user, okay, your main UI. Here let's say you write a div, okay, and you write a div here. So this div is your outer div, like a wrapper. You can say its ID is wrapper. So you are putting everything inside this container, and then inside this div, let's say you will have other divs, okay. So like you will have div 1, div 2. If you want to create a two column layout, you will have div 1 and div 2, okay. And then you will write your CSS in such a way that you have a two column layout. So this will create one row and two column for us. Obviously you have to write CSS. So here is our simple div. Now in the div we are writing html.h1. So here, for example, this is the div, our main header. So here we will write h1 tag. This h1 tag will generate heading for you, right? The h1 is the biggest heading, then h2, h3, h4. So this will give you a heading in your page. So if you will save this much page, then also in HTML this will create a simple heading page for you. So we are saving this as plotly test.html, okay, and here save it as all files. Let's save. So here is a HTML page, and you can see a simple heading. So obviously we are not going to discuss too much of HTML here. I guess you already know that, but just giving you an idea that this is html.h1, where we are writing superstore dashboard. So in h1 the first parameter is the text that you want to put in the heading tag, and then style is equal to text align center. This is the inline CSS. So usually you write it like this: h1 style is equal to text align center. So this is your CSS. So in when you are writing html.h1, so suppose you have to create a tag, so you will write html.div. This will create a div tag, okay. In your div tag, so your div tag, let's say if you want to create another div tag, so your div tag will be like this, okay. Inside your div tag there will be a opening square bracket and closing square bracket. Inside this square bracket are going to be list of elements, okay. For example, there will be html.h1, okay. And let's say you want to put something else, to you will write html.h2. Suppose you want to give a subheading, Now, since you are defining a heading and a subheading, so here you will define something like what is going to be in H1, what is going to be in H2. Okay, so that is what we are doing here. So inside div, we have a square bracket, and inside the square bracket, we are writing html.h1, and this particular h1 tag will take these parameters. Okay, the first parameter will be the value that you want to display, and second will be the css. Css we will write inside a dictionary. Okay, so say, as in dictionary we have a key and value pair, so we will write that. So just for your basic understanding, what I have done here, you can see a simple heading and a simple paragraph. Okay, so here you have created html.div. Okay, inside your div we have used a list. So in our list we have put two values. Okay, first value is html.h1 tag, second value is html.paragraph tag. P is for paragraph, and you have to write it in capital. So html.p. In paragraph, the first parameter that you will give will be the text of your paragraph, and in style, for example, color red. So as a dictionary we will write the style. Suppose we want to apply different style properties like text align center, and let's say font family. I'm just giving a very old font family here. So Comic Sans MS. Okay, something like that. So if you will run that, it will start running your app, and you will see that particular output. Okay, so you can see now the font family is Comic Sans MS. So that means if you have the basic understanding of HTML and CSS, then you can definitely create this. Here you finally have to write if name is equal to main, app.server debug is equal to true. So app.run server, just run your app. This simple code, this simple if block will run your code, and in Google Colab. Obviously, when you will run it inside your Python program, so it will start running on a browser. It will give you a URL where you can run it. Okay, so now in our div, which starts here and ends here, we can create the HTML elements. Okay, you can create other elements, like you can create other divs, you can create other tags. Okay, so for example, in your HTML div, you want to create other elements. Let's say after the paragraph, I want to create html.div. Okay, and in my div, I just want to I want to create two divs. So I will write html.div, html.div. Okay, and inside the div, as you know, we have to write some text. Okay, and after text we have to write the CSS styling. So for example, I don't want to create anything. I will just write style is equal to, and here I will simply write with 30% and comma. So it will be like key and value pair. Yeah, so it will be with 30%. Okay, and then you will write float left. So obviously in CSS you write it like this, but here you have to write it like a key value pair. Okay, so here we have one div. Similarly, we'll copy this div. So 30% means it will align itself in the first 30%, then another 30%, then another 30%. So it will create a 3-column layout. Okay, so based on this concept, we will follow our upper tutorial. Okay, so what we have done so far, and I will give this code to you also. Now it will be more clear to you. So inside your div, you write a square bracket. Inside your square bracket, you can write any number of things, because in a div, div is a container. It can contain many HTML tags. So first HTML tag is our heading. Second HTML tag is the div again. We are going to insert two column layout. Okay. Now the first element is our div, and it is starting from here and ending here. So it will be like a row. Now in this row there is going to be one column. So this div will represent one column because its width is 30%. So for uh, for two column we will give a width of 50% or 45%. Okay, so it will have a width of 45%. Now in this HTML, in this div, the first element we are going to write is a label select category. Then the second element, with the help of DCC that we discussed, which is a dash core component, we will create a drop down. In the drop down we will give a id is equal to category drop down, because in our data set we want to provide category and subcategory drop downs. We will give a category drop down, and options label is cat, value is cat. Okay, and this cat will come from for cat in df category dot unique. So what is this? Now obviously after reading the data, let's insert a code. So df.category.unique is the unique name of all the categories. Okay, if you will just write df.category, it will give you row wise all the names. Okay, to select distinct values of category, you will write df.category.unique, and it will return an array. Since it is returning an array, so we are running a for loop. So for cat in df category dot unique. Okay, and this cat will be used as label, and this cat will be used as value. So when you will run this program, okay, uh, the output that you saw at the starting of this tutorial, when you will run this program, let it be finished. You will see select category is the label. Okay, here yeah, so is the label, and its id is this. Label is category, value is category. So if you know, in drop down you have a label and value. Okay, if you inspect this element, so it is like this. So I will give you example. When it's a drop down in HTML, so how you write? You write a select. Okay, so select tag is the input tag. In select tag, suppose I want to show two drop downs. Okay, so how I will write? Option. So this will be the first option. Okay, and similarly I will copy this and second option. Let's say I want to show furniture, and here I want to show books. So here you use a attribute, value is equal to furniture. Okay, so this is your value and this is your label. So similarly, this is the value. Here let's say books. So furniture, books. So this is a simple drop down in HTML. And how is it created in dash in plotly? Like this. Obviously you will get this code. You will when you will go through this code, it will become very easy. So in option we are using a list. Okay, and in this list we are using label cat, value cat, and running a simple loop here to populate the options value. Okay, so this loop will keep appending values here. Okay, value is furniture, so the second parameter will be value, like at the start which value will be there. So since we already know that it is furniture, we will select some value there. Usually it is like select category also. Sometimes you can write it like this, select category, and then you will get a drop down list. Okay. Now after our HTML code is finished, the drop down code is finished, so comma separated list is there of element. We will write finally is style is equal to width 45%, and once we give the width of 45%, you will see it's in 45% width. Okay. So for 3 column layout we selected, that's why earlier we selected 30%. So that, you know, it's your choice whatever you want. So in 30% it will be there, and padding of this div will be 10%, 10 pixels. So its padding, like, you know, from left and right side will be 10 pixels. Similarly, we will create another div. In this div we will select the label region and create a drop down. Its ID is going to be region drop down, its ID is going to be category drop down. Okay, it is very important. And here we are going to select df single square bracket region. So select the region column and populate the value same as we did there. And here also the first value will be east, or you can write something like select category. Here select subcategory. Clearable is equal to false, like you cannot clear this. Okay, so we will write furniture here, you cannot clear this list. Okay, because you have to select something in order to see the values. Then obviously here style is equal to width 30% display inline block. Now this is the inner divs, and here the outer div where our two, you know, input boxes will be there. So it is ending here, and here we are using display flex. By using display flex, it will appear side by side, otherwise it will appear, you know, on top of each other. Sometimes we also use float left property. So float left property also aligns the content left to each other, so put it side by side. So you can use this. And now we are going to use another 2 column layout. Here we are going to put two graphs. So just below them we are going to put two graphs, and for these graphs we will use dcc.graph class. Okay, where we will assign id, then we will put its style width is equal to 30%, display inline block, padding 10 pixel. Here also, here we will put an id of subcategory sales pie. Okay, so here just you will say we want to put graphs here. Okay, what type of graph will it be? That is something that you are going to use callbacks to define. Okay, and style is equal to flex justify content space around to make them appear side by side, otherwise they will appear on top of each other. Okay, this way you can bring other elements also. And now once everything is defined, we will use add app dot callback function. So as I explained earlier, in DCC we have input allowed for text or uh, you know that type of input, but here in callback also there is output. So output will be sales profit graph, which is a figure. Output will be subcategory sales pie, which is a figure. So we will say these two IDs will be used as output. So we are going to create a list of output, and we are going to create a list of input. So this is callback function. That means when we will use this, it is going to change that output. Okay. And finally we are going to create a function that is update graphs. It is going to take two things: selected category, selected region. Okay, and here we are going to create a data frame, filtered data frame. So how do you filter a data frame? For example, and it is very easy thing. So just insert a code. If you will write df, it will give you your entire data frame of around 10,000 rows. Okay, you will see all the columns and all the rows here. If you will write df where df category equal to furniture. Okay, so remember I have not executed it. Here we have 9994 rows. When I will execute it, okay, so what will happen? Now I have 2121 rows. That means data is now filtered for this one condition. But if I want to create two conditions here, okay, so here if I want to create two conditions and df subcategory equal to or let's say region, okay, df region equal to east. So now I am using and here and works, and I am putting two conditions here. First condition this, that category should be equal to furniture comparison operator, and region should be east. So you already know earlier there were 2121 results. Okay, I get a very good error. Let's see what the error is. Yeah, so we have to use the ampersand operator here. So now after using ampersand operator, 601 rows. Okay, so this way we can apply 2 3 as many conditions, and that is what we are doing here. Okay, so here we are using a filtered df, so we are saving the output in filtered df. Here the first variable selected category and the second variable selected region will be provided to this function. Once it will be provided to this function, it will filter the df, and in our first figure, that is the bar chart that we are going to create, in the first figure we are going to use px dot bar. Okay, so here for example in plotly you want to create a bar chart, so you just import plotly express as px and write px dot bar. So you write figure is equal to px dot bar, use your data x and y. In a bar there is a data x and a y property, and use figure dot show. It will show you a graph like this. Okay, so here px dot bar. So our data is what? Filtered df. The first parameter is what? Your data. Okay, filtered df will be our data. X is what? Subcategory. Y is what? Both sales and profit, because in Y we want to show two things. Suppose you only want to show one data, so you can get rid of this list and write it directly also. Okay, so in Y we are going to select two different measures, sales and profit, because both of them have the currency value, same scale. So sales, if there is X sales, then there will be Y profit, so it will give us that comparison, and that's why you are seeing a graph like this. You can see in some categories profit is negative, that means we have loss. Okay, so here so this is our first graph. What is the title of this graph? By subcategory in selected region. Selected region is what? Your variable that you are going to use in function. Now in figure 1 update layout, what we are doing is we are using a title text. Okay, so in title we are writing text sales and profit by subcategory in selected region, because we want to reduce the font size. So font size 13, this is optional. Okay, I just because this font was very big, it was getting trimmed. So that's why I just did this. Similarly, for px2 you will create a pie chart. Okay, filtered df name is equal to subcategory, values is equal to sales. Okay, title sales by subcategory in selected region. And if you want to update its layout, like you want to give a title, you want to create some kind of background, so you can do that. And finally you can return figure 1 and figure 2. So this particular function update graphs will take two arguments, and it it will filter the df, create two charts, and return figure 1 and figure 2. Okay, simply. So this is what we are going to do. Okay, and now there is one very important and unique thing here: def update graphs. If you will search, you will see that it appears two times. So we have defined update graphs, but where is it called? You will find it nowhere in the program. Now let's understand this. Where is update graphs function called here? The update graphs function is not called explicitly in code by you. Instead, it is automatically called by dash when the input category dropdown and region dropdown change, thanks to the dash's callback mechanism. So you remember we use the callback functions. Okay. So in your callback function, you write sales profit graph figure, output this. Remember, here you use input category dropdown and input region dropdown. So make sure that the variables that you have used here, select category, select region, okay, and you have used selected category and selected region here. Okay, in your uh, in your bar graph, okay, you have used subcategory here and region here. So what we have done here, like the drop down that we have created, region drop down and sales drop down. Okay, so based on these values, the category drop down and region drop down, okay, their id, region drop down and uh, category drop down, their ids are called. Okay, your selected category and selected region are there. When this input will be changed, okay, so this function will be called this update graphs function, and then it will simply display the data. The app callback declarator binds update graph function to specific input and output. App.callback output sales profit graph figure, output sales category sales pie figure, input this output the component that the function updates, in this case the figure property of sales profit graph and subcategory sales pie. It updates the figure property. The component that trigger the function when their value change. In this case, value property are category dropdown and region dropdown. And triggering the callback. Whenever the user interacts with the dropdown, category dropdown or region dropdown, their value property changes. This trigger DAX to automatically call update graphs. Okay. Function execution. The update graph function processes the input selected category and selected region, generate the updated figure and returns them. Updating component. The return figures are assigned to figure properties of sales profit graph and subcategory pie, updating the visualizations. You don't need to explicitly call this. Okay. So this is a very simple example. Let's run it once again to create a very simple interactive dashboard in Python. Obviously, it is a lot to be explored here, and this is really interesting, and something really uh, advanced can be created here. Okay, so in our upcoming chapters we will try to create better looking, more interactive, and more meaningful graphs. Obviously, this is a simple graph. I mean, benefits are there. You can download plot as PNG file, by clicking this icon. And we will try to put more graphs here in a layout, give more borders, and create more advanced type of graphs. So please subscribe to our channel so that when we'll update this, you will get a notification. And with the power of Python Pandas, how great it is. And with this simple customization, you can really create very advanced dashboards. And we also know that Python is not only capable of using the data processing of Pandas, but we can also use sklearn, we can also use TensorFlow, Keras, and use our machine learning models to predict some output on the basis of users' input value like this. So more on this will be discussed in upcoming chapters. Thanks for watching the video. Have a nice day.